Today, we're going to dive into what might be humanity's single greatest transformation, the moment we stopped wandering and literally started building the world we know.
First things first, we've got to set the stage, because to really get this revolution, you have to understand just how different life was before. For the vast majority of our time on Earth, a settled life wasn't just weird, it was basically impossible.
All right, so modern humans, that's us, Homo sapiens. We've been around for about 200,000 years. I mean, just try to wrap your head around that number. It is a massive, almost unimaginable stretch of time. And here is the absolute kicker. For over 190,000 of those years, we were nomads. We were always on the move. Seriously, think about that. Your house, your job, your country, all of that is crammed into less than 5% of the human story. So what did that life even look like? Well, on one side, you've got the hunter-gatherer way, constantly moving, following animal herds, your entire life dictated by the climate. You lived in small, wandering groups. And then, on the other side, you see the settled life that we'd eventually build. It is the complete opposite in almost every way. So, what changed? I mean, what on earth could make our entire species flip a switch on a lifestyle we'd had for nearly 200,000 years? Well, the answer wasn't an invention or some brilliant new idea, at least not at first. The answer was the planet itself. The big catalyst was the end of the last great ice age.
You know, as those giant ice sheets started to melt and retreat, the world was kind of reborn. The climate got more stable, the long, brutal winters got shorter, and all of a sudden, places like the Fertile Crescent in the Middle East became incredibly lush and just full of food. For the first time ever, humans didn't have to move. They could actually stay put.
And yep, this new era, it's got a name, the Neolithic. It literally just means the new Stone Age. And it's the period where everything we think of as normal started to take shape, as people began to settle down, to farm, and to domesticate animals.
Now, you might think the story goes something like this. People settled down, they started farming, and then they built towns. But archaeology has thrown a fascinating wrench in that whole timeline. Turns out, massive, organized projects might have come before people ever settled in permanent towns.
And the evidence for this wild idea comes from a place in southeastern Turkey, an absolutely incredible archaeological site called Göbekli Tepe. And what was found there? Well, it completely upended everything we thought we knew about early human society. It is a total game changer. I mean, just look at the sheer scale of this place. Dated to around 9500 BC, it's thought to be the world's very first temple. And we're not talking about small rocks here. We're talking about massive, T-shaped limestone pillars, some weighing tons, all intricately carved with animals. But here's the craziest part. It was built by hunter-gatherers, people who weren't supposed to have this level of social organization. This wasn't a city where people lived. It was a destination, a sacred place that needed a huge, coordinated workforce to build. So this points to a really profound, kind of mind-blowing idea. What if it wasn't farming that created society, but society that created farming? It suggests that a shared purpose, maybe a spiritual belief, was the original glue that brought huge groups of people together. It motivated them to cooperate on a massive scale, long before they had to worry about managing crops or a city. In a way, the cathedral came before the town.
Okay, so with people now gathering together and staying in one place for longer periods, the stage was set for the next giant leap. This is the innovation that would lock us into a settled life for good, the invention of farming.
So how do we even know when humans first started to intentionally grow plants? Well, one of the most amazing clues comes from finding ancient figs inside a house in Jericho. Now, why are figs so important? Well, unlike most plants, these specific figs can only be reproduced from cuttings. So finding them inside a home is pretty much direct proof that humans had finally cracked the code of cultivation. And that discovery, it just kicked off a chain reaction. First, we cracked the code of how to grow things. Then, harvesting grains created something the world had never seen before, a food surplus. This surplus wasn't just extra food, it was a tool. You could use it to feed and raise animals you could tame, like goats and sheep. And just like that, the main reason for our nomadic life, having to follow wild herds, it was gone. The anchor had been dropped. So, you have people gathering for a shared purpose, and you have the technology of farming. Put them together, and what do you get? Where you get the final revolutionary result, the first city on Earth.
But to build a real city, you need a new technology. And down in Jericho, they came up with something so simple but so absolutely world-changing, the mud brick. Just molding mud into uniform, stackable shapes let people build sturdy, permanent houses quickly and easily. It was literally a revolution in a single break.
And this is what they built. Around 9000 BC, Jericho pops up as the world's first urban center. It had homes made from those game-changing mud bricks. It was protected by a massive stone wall and even had a stone tower. Archaeologists have found evidence of stockpiled food, which proves these people were planning for the future. They had officially decided to stay put. You see, the founding of Jericho wasn't just another step forward. It was the point of no return. It marks the moment our species committed to a totally new path, one that would lead directly to the world we all live in today. And what's truly staggering is the speed, the incredible speed at which it all happened.
This timeline really puts it all into perspective. For nearly 200,000 years, the pace of change is basically flat. Then, bam, everything just accelerates. In the span of just a few centuries, you get organized worship at Göbekli Tepe, then the invention of farming, and then the first city, Jericho. It was a cascade of innovation. And just a few centuries after that, you get the first great civilizations like Sumer. It was a creative explosion.
This quote just nails it, doesn't it? In what's really the blink of a geological eye, we completely reinvented what it even meant to be human. We went from being just another part of nature to actively shaping it.
This transformation gave us, well, pretty much everything we call civilization. Art, writing, technology, huge communities. But it leaves us with a pretty fascinating question to think about. We gained so much when we decided to put down roots, but in trading a life of wandering for one of permanence, what skills, what knowledge, what connection to the natural world did our nomadic ancestors have that maybe, just maybe, we've forgotten?